Hello, people, and welcome to BTG. This is your host, Mr. Shaker. You may know me from such songs as After Call and You Shoulda Took the. And today I wanted to continue off with my last statement, or with my ending statement in my last video. The point I was trying to get at was that there are two options. The name of the game really would be if there was some agenda for gun control, at least. The name of the game would be just to outgun the civilians. If you were to have, let's say, if they were to remove all guns from the civilians, or from those individuals who they deemed a problem, then they would not need to upgrade their armory or their arsenal, because the person is unarmed, so they wouldn't be much of a fight. So, as you would imagine, let's just imagine a simple scenario of a cop or potential. Even though cops are fine, at least the ones that I've encountered in my life, at least. Imagine the scenario that people were thinking about of them being some government agent or oppressive. Imagine that individual there. They have a pistol, and that's it. And then the civilian, they also have a pistol. Now, if you were to remove that pistol from the civilian, then they are now outgunned. So what would they need an AR-15 for? They wouldn't require any high-level arsenal or any type of firearms, because they already outgunned them. Now, if you had a civilian that had a pistol, then for the officer to outgun them, or that other individual that may be tyrannical, they would then need either more people, as in another individual, maybe to outnumber them 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 with other pistols at their sides, or they may upgrade with the AR-15. So, if individuals want to keep their firearms and they're not able to remove them, then that's fine. They could find a way to put more of those individuals that people would believe, at least the people that believe in that gun control agenda of removing their weapons. Those individuals, or this party, this oppressive party, they would then outgun them and have superior firepower. Which, at that point, that would make sense for the gun control narrative. All I'm saying is that there are other ways to outgun someone. You don't need to remove their guns. They could just put more people. And besides, there are more things more powerful than the gun, as I'm sure you've heard the other aphorism of the pen being mightier than the sword, and that is true. The pen, or also, and I guess in other terms, we could also say words are more powerful than the sword, because even though sometimes the sword can enforce words or give those words meaning, words are ideas usually that we use to communicate with one another, or can be used to communicate ideas with one another. And really be honest with you, you would just need one individual with a weapon, then some gun person that wanted to preserve their right. If they happen to get an altercation with this individual, then someone can spin the narrative, i.e. the pen, and then that would then remove that could then potentially go against the Second Amendment. So just remember, there are other ways that something like this could actually occur. But anyways, besides, I guess still on the topic of gun control, one thing that I was thinking about, just as sort of a middle ground between having guns and not having guns, is why don't we have civilian body armor? Because last time I checked, it was actually illegal for one to have any type of body armor or bulletproof vest, or actually technically a bullet resistant vest, as someone made clear. that actually would be more appropriate. Because if everyone's going to have a weapon, then I'm thinking, why shouldn't a common civilian be able to protect themselves as in a defensive maneuver? I mean, back to the thing that we were talking about with schools. I'm thinking if a kid were to have some backpack that was bulletproof or bullet resistant, then they would increase their chances. Though I know some people are thinking of course you would still need some armed individual on the premises if you actually did want to remove the threat. However, the civilian at least has some protection, some level of protection. Like I've heard that most recently, actually, someone had a threat at some high school that they were going to shoot up the high school. I believe it was sometime this week, towards the end of the week when people were still in school, and when they made this threat, and I was thinking that, because I mean I know some people, like some of my siblings, they were in this school, and thank God nothing happened. but however, still, you would just imagine how maybe if they were to just to let you know that this is actually real. I know people don't like to think of it as a game, but however, I mean I know it's kind of ironic I'm playing a game right now, but still, some people treat it as a game because if they weren't treating it as a game, you would think that they would take it more seriously. Or maybe if they were going to treat it like a game, why shouldn't they take it a bit more seriously? I mean, even if you were to take it as serious as I'm taking this game right now, I would have some more improvement within our policies. Maybe there would be a bit more urgency. But as I was saying, though, not to get too far into that topic, and with the whole philosophical background and everything, is that I think it would just be better if we were to have things that were bullet resistant. I mean, why not? I mean, you could, even though, like I said, it would be actually a better concept and more safe. Because I mean, there would be nothing against it. A body. I mean, think about it. Body armor or bullet resistant vests, those don't hurt other people. They only defend people. They don't kill anyone. They actually save lives. Honestly, I don't believe there's anything against it besides the argument that if someone were to have that vest, they believe that they would potentially, I guess is the implication that they would potentially cause harm to someone, because if they have a vest, then apparently they'll have better defense, as though they're, I don't know, I guess they want to play soldier or something like that. Honestly, I haven't really looked into the issues or see if it actually still is illegal in some parts. I mean, I know it's not illegal to purchase it, not to walk around with it, however. This is the last time I checked, which was some time ago. I had to look into that later to see if that is. Believe me, when I'll probably let you know what I find out later, probably in the next video. Anyways, as I was stating, things that are bullet resistant, that wouldn't be a bad idea. And that's what I wanted to discuss. So you already have that topic down. So the other thing I was about to say was, I remember there was something else in regards to this narrative that they were saying you should befriend the school shooter. And I want to be honest with you, like, when I was in school, right, I know there was some individual who was falling on hard times, and they're home, they got hit with the recession, and they were just, I mean, honestly, they were a little crazy, so to speak. I mean, this individual that I was cool with at the time, it was just, I'll just give you just a little background on this individual, that we were in the same class and everything, and sat at the same table. It was like cool guy, but I believe like once his religious beliefs changed, which this guy was a Catholic, then he went from a Catholic to an atheist to a Satanist. And by Satanist, I don't mean the guilfoyle, if for those of you that watch Silicon Valley. I'm not referring to the guilfoyle, just anti-Christian, or the anti-Levay, where they're just a mockery of Christianity, so to speak. And not Christianity itself, but the individuals who are Christians. Which actually, I guess that could be a whole other topic I'll discuss sometime later. But anyways, he was actually one of those devil worshipping type individuals. And, it's just kind of odd how he had those principles, but understand he had the type of mindset where he actually could have became a school shooter. And I know people were thinking like what class I'm referring to, though. I mean, there's actually a few people that had that type of personality in the class that I was in, which that was in ROTC, and I'm like I said, some of the people wanted to play soldier, and some of them were just a little, wait, speaking of soldiering, wait one moment, where's he at? Boom! Alright, so that's what I was saying. I don't know why some of those people wanted to do something like that, or why you want to do this, but like I was saying, people were discussing the possibilities. If you see a kid in the corner alone, be friends with that kid, And to be honest with you, like, I think at some moments now I'm thinking about how I never was that kid that was alone. I always had people around me. So yeah, not me, but the other individuals, always was around them. And it wasn't as though like I went to them. It's just that we just kind of got stuck in the same place. I would just sit down, and how I pretty much encountered some of these individuals. At least this one individual I was telling you about, the one that I said was that went through like 3 different religions. He actually, what I did was I sat at the same table for my entire high school career, so to speak. The whole time I was at high school, sat at the same table. It's just that the people that used to sit at the table, they went to other tables. Like every new year, they would go to. Some people would sit at the same table. You would see a few people gather at one table, and then they would leave, or they would go with the other individuals. So, but what happened was that there were people that used to go to this one table, and eventually I was there, and some people got some issues with some seats as though they owned them. And they kept treating it like it was prison for some reason or another. And I'm just thinking, I was like, I just got out of that school district. I don't know what their problem is. We're supposed to be in the suburbs. But, however, still, this individual, they were sitting by me. It was a cool guy. It was kind of nice. I mean, a bit of a jerk. But still, overall, was a nice individual, but like I said, just had some oddities about them that I said potentially could have been that school shooting. But just on a side note, what you see what I'm doing now, I'm just trying to collect some sand, because you need sand as the main ingredient to create a clock. And this way, if I were to create a clock, I wouldn't have to wait for the sun to come up, and I don't have to guess, pretty much. Like, all I have to do is just create a clock, mark when the zombies and skeletons decide to come out, and then I get to go back to then I can just say whenever they leave. So pretty much it will give me better timing, so I can pretty much gather more resources. So anyway, as I was saying, this individual, you would speak with them, and be honest with you, it's like you got to know him. He was all right, but could be a bit I don't know, domineering in some cases. Like, would try to do things for no reason. Like, I remember one day he ran up to me. like I know in high school people had some do some stupid stuff, but one day just ran up to me and like on the side did like a little like run up and a jump and like a knee into my thigh, and even though I was kind of stunned and I was about to get him, I'm thinking about how crazy he actually was, and because at that time I was kind of a big guy. I was like 190 pounds, mostly muscle, probably like maybe at 20% body fat. I'm not sure. I was doing probably like 100 push-ups at the time. All I'm saying is that I was capable, and I know with some of you thinking, oh, if you had that type of build, you could have, did some damage. But that's the issue, because like Terry Crews stated when he got grabbed on by that one guy, he said if he would have snapped, then he would have been in trouble, and that's what I was trying to avoid. And besides, like I said, this guy's a potential school. Like I said, if he could have potentially snapped to the point where my life would have been at risk. And I'm thinking one little, like I said, if it would have occurred that one time, and I'm just thinking it's just like did little idiotic things like that. But then someone was trying to be mean to him. I'm trying to defend him, and you get you pretty much you don't get that type of treatment back, so to speak. I mean, you think of it as karma, so to speak, but karma's more or less fate-wise. But as I was saying, if you were to befriend the potential school shooter, sure, you got people that are nice. Like, I saw this one video, this one TED Talk. I've already put a link in the description for it. The one guy, he said he could have been a school shooter, and someone treated him nice, and he actually, he turned out well because of it. But I mean, this guy, he was just, it's like you got to know him. It wasn't like he had something else to offer. He was actually overall, he was just becoming not a nice individual. Something, what if you say, oh, make friends with the school shooter, but then, or the lonely kid. But what if that lonely kid is actually not a nice guy? What if they're a Jeffrey Dahmer in the making, no matter what you do? And now you're spending all your efforts getting pretty much treated, pretty much being mistreated by this individual. Just because of the potential threat that they might harm you or some individual, which I'm like, understand, include people in your group in society or whatnot. Though that does mess with the I guess culture or the artificial selection that we're having right now, rather than natural selection. But still, I just believe that some individuals just aren't nice individuals. They potentially have a bad streak, and there's nothing you can do. And like I was saying, there's things that some things are out of your control, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. But oh dear, like I was saying, you shouldn't feel bad about it. Just let me see, I probably hit him from here. No. Alright. Yeah, I probably need to make the K next. But anyways, like I was saying, you shouldn't, like I said, don't feel bad about it, but you shouldn't feel obligated. I mean, I understand making friends with other people, it's fine. But sometimes you gotta be careful. Alright, he's closer now. But sometimes you gotta be careful. Because this individual probably won't have your best interest in mind, and they could be a jerk. So all I'm saying is that take their arguments with a grain of salt. Some of these things will not resolve the issue at all. To be honest with you, rather than making friends with the school shooter, you're better, or the lonely kid in the back, sometimes the best option would be that bulletproof or bullet resistant vest I was referring to. That's actually a lot easier, and trust me, it's a lot less painful than trying to dedicate your time to someone who could potentially mistreat you. I mean, if they are, like I said, it's just in my experience, but well, I guess that's really it for now. Alright, people, thank you for listening, and this is Mr. Shaker, and I'm out.